Hello everyone, welcome to the Bison video blog without Dom Izzo, who is still in Philadelphia, probably eating a cheesesteak or something like that, maybe riding in the streets with the rest of them after the Eagles took down the Vikings. Were you surprised? First off, we'll start with that. The NFL moment, Carson Wentz beats the Vikings.
So I'm flying from Peoria to Chicago, and I land in Chicago, turn on my phone, and between the time I landed till I got to the terminal at O'Hare, there's like 6 turnovers. So, I mean, it was a pretty ugly. So I missed it. Big deal.
Yeah, it was an ugly game, but Carson Wentz gets the win, and obviously Dom and Mike having you covered out there in the paper and on the news side as well. Well, let's talk about first, there's so many things to talk about. The game against Western Illinois, obviously the win, but we'll start with the big announcement made today. NDSU will play Butler at Target Field in 2019. We knew that maybe this was coming and it was in the works, especially after that St. Thomas, St. John's announcement that they'd be playing there. And now we get it. It's going to be Butler and NDSU in 2019.
And for those of us who were there in 06 and 07 at those Metrodome games and then in 11 at the TCF Bank Stadium, let the party begin, right? I mean, the tailgating and the fan base is going to go out of control. I remember doing some stories again on the tailgating at the fairgrounds, and there was more people who tailgated there than Wisconsin fans. And so I expect stuff like that to happen again. It's a party. It's a central, I think, just almost a reunion of sorts for a lot of the Bison fans in the Twin Cities and around that area. And like the head coach said, it's great for recruiting too.
Dave St. Peter was here with the announcement, asked him a couple questions. I think he said it's going to seat probably 40,000 for this game if they can fill it up, which Bison fans have been able to travel well, so that might be a challenge to the NDSU fans out there. Obviously, you have a couple years to think about if you want to go to the game. Also, I thought it was interesting. I asked him about the UND game. Why not maybe make that the game? He said it might be a little bit too late for the way the Minnesota Twins operate. That's getting a little bit too late into the schedule. And also, he didn't want it to go head-to-head with the Gophers. So that kind of ruled UND out a little bit. But I don't know. I don't know if they wanted to play that game or if they wanted the ticket sales for that at the Fargo Dome.
Well, I mean, really, if you're NDSU, where would you want to play UND? Yeah. I mean, exactly. you want to play him in the Fargo Dome. I don't think that was a consideration. I'm just guessing, of course. Yeah. But if I were making the call, and I don't, of course, but I'd rather have those type of games at my own place. And I reference that to the NDSU University of South Dakota game that was played in Sioux Falls. Right. I know in retrospect, you talked to Joe Glenn and you talked to the USD administrators. No way they'd do that again because it was a neutral site game and you just lost your home field advantage, so to speak.
Well, let's get to the other task at hand, the football team. A 21-17 victory or 21-13 victory over Western Illinois over the weekend. A hard-fought, tough, gritty game. It was a bend but don't break type of game for the defense. They come out pretty healthy, but, Jeff, that was a physical game and one where the Bison were really tested and could have just as easily lost that game.
But it's so typical, though, of a lot of these games. If you remember when Carson Wentz, the last time when he was at Hanson Field Macomb, it's not like they were – it's a tough place to play. They needed a halfback pass to Carson who caught the throwback to the quarterback to win that game. It was 14-7. So you have games like that. And you muck it up. It's a night game. It's on the road. And the biggest thing is a win. And it was, to me, it was more of a formula in that setting than anything else because we've seen it before.
NDSU struggled in the second half again. They were shut out on the scoreboard. What's your level of concern? Because Chris Kleiman said, yeah, there's definitely some things that we need to address. What's your level of concern going into a Northern Iowa game that's going to be just as tough, if not tougher?
Moderate. I think you need to find some more explosive plays, and they were close. I mean, the head coach was right today. They were close. There's a couple times where he saw, shoestring tackles or Bison backs could have gone off on a lot of yards. That being said, they didn't go off on a lot of yards. So you got to find those explosive plays, and to beat Northern Iowa in that environment, you have to get out to a decent start. You got to take the crowd out of the game as much as you can, and you got to hit a big play here and there.
Let's talk about the Panthers. This is going to be a good showdown down in Cedar Falls. Obviously, the record doesn't make you go, wow, they're 3-4, 2-2 in the conference, but their 4 losses, I think all of them have been within a touchdown. They almost beat Eastern Washington. They almost beat South Dakota on the road, lost to them, lost to Montana. This is a team that has been battle-tested, but boy, they played a little angry this past week and won 61-7 against Missouri State.
Right, changed quarterbacks to Eli Dunn, and he's more the throwing guy than Aaron Bailey, and I think that change of philosophy, either it surprised Missouri State or they just didn't show up. But that being said, nobody hangs 62 on other teams in this conference very often. I mean, it's pretty rare. NDSU blitzed Western Illinois last year, but by and large, you don't see that. they must have found something to their liking. And I guess we'll find out this week exactly what it was and what worked for them.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for the Bison this week? What do you think they really need to key in on if they want to beat the Panthers?
Turnovers. I mean, you can't turn the ball over. When they've lost down there, they've lost a turnover margin. They let Northern Iowa get out to a little lead, and then to me it's a tug of war game. You know, NDSU is a strong team. Northern Iowa is a strong team in terms of physicality. They're going to bass each other, and when you have a lead, that's just you play, I think, a little more loose. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing is the first half.
We should recap that Saturday game, South Dakota State and Youngstown. South Dakota State took it to them a little bit. Did that surprise you that they won as handily as they did, or at least the start was pretty darn good for the Jacks?
Not really, because South Dakota State's really good this year. I mean, they're playing at a pretty high level ever since their start. You know, Youngstown has had trouble on quarterback right now. They're hurt, and I think that showed.
I got to watch a little bit of it. Bo Pelini talking with a lot of the refs throughout the game. Any surprise?
No.
That's Jeff Kolpack. I'm Jody Norstedt. Thank you for watching the Bison video blog. We'll have coverage from Cedar Falls coming up on Saturday.